materials required for corset tailoring. You will need the following: strewn fabric, for example denim. You can use two-way stretch fabric, sewing thread, thread for decorative seams, ridgeline bones, both wide 0.5 inches and narrow 0.3 inches, plastic or spiral bones, 0.8 inches wide bias tape, masking tape, press and molds, scissors, and pruner. Corset cutting. This model is sewn of two-way stretch denim fabric. No additional fusing of pieces is needed. I will use the same fabric both for the face and the lining of the corset to ensure that the material is equally dense and stretched on the face and the lining. Corset patterns should be prepared with seam allowances accounted for, in my case, 0.5 inches. I fold the material 4 times, evening out the fabric crease. I place the pattern pieces in such a way that their waistline notches are parallel to the shoot and the central cut of the back is parallel to the lengthwise thread. In my case, the fabric stretches along the lengthwise thread. If your fabric stretches along the shoot, then you should lay out your pattern pieces the other way round. The fabric should not stretch along the waistline. I trace all corset pieces making notches. Then I secure everything with pins. And I cut out all patterns. It is necessary to make notches on the waistline, along the bust line, and under the bust. Then I remove the pins and separate the pieces. I put the face pieces of the corset aside. I take the central piece of the lining front and 2 medium pieces of the front. I draw horizontal lines along the back of the fabric connecting bust line notches. Joining the lining pieces, attaching ridgeline bones. I join the bust curves of the lining using a 0.5 inches seam allowance. Then I make a machine stitch going along the straight cuts of the central pieces of the back at a distance of the seam allowance, 0.5 inches. Now I join the curves of the back pieces. I trim corners at the ends of the seam allowances along the top and bottom of the garment. This is done in order to minimize the thickness of the seams when joining the horizontal cuts. I join the side piece of the front with the back along the side seam. The seam allowance is 0.5 inches. Now I press open all seam allowances. I press the bust curves using a cup pressing mold. I press the bottom of the front piece curves on the press board surface. This is what the front of the lining looks like after pressing. I trim the seam allowances at the level of the corset cups. Now I take a narrow 0.3 inches Ridgeline bone, tape its edge over with some masking tape and place it at the previously marked bust line at the front, 0.81 inches from the edge of the garment. I make bar tacks at the starting and finishing points. The Ridgeline bone should be stitched only by 2 parallel stitches going along the edges. I join the pieces of the corset along the curve of the side piece of the front using a 0.5 seam allowance. In other words, I join all lining pieces into one whole piece. All seams should be carefully pressed open. I make a stay stitch going along the top and bottom of the lining. Stay stitch is a supporting machine stitch, sewing at the distance of the seam allowance 0.5 inches from the edge. On the one hand, it prevents the piece from getting stretched and, on the other hand, serves as a guiding line for marking the location of Ridgeline bones. I take a wide 0.5 inches Ridgeline bone and place it at the middle of the back, where the lacing will be located, 1 millimeter from the stay stitch. I sew it on with 2 machine stitches. Then I sew on 2 more parallel bones, one by one. I tape their edges over with a masking tape. I leave 2 millimeter space from the stay stitch at the top and down the bottom. I take a narrow 0.3 inches Ridgeline bone and stitch it onto the upper edge of the corset, stepping 1 millimeter from the stay stitch. I tape the edge of the bone with a masking tape. The fabric on the side pieces of the front, from the underarm to the bust curve, should be slightly eased in to ensure good fitting of the corset top. I finished sewing on the bone with the second stitch going along its inner side. From the face side of the lining, these attached ridgeline bones look like this. Covering cups with pattern polyester. I take a flock of pattern polyester. It is recommended to rumple it along the edges. I place it over the horizontal bone on the bust and secure it with pins. Then I stitch it on over the face of the lining along the seams, attaching the bone.